Vistage has brought me everything that's good in my life. My best friend, my husband, who's a fellow chair, my best buddies. I have chairs that I'm close to across the United States, across the globe, and then my members who really just fill my heart with joy and fill me with purpose.
Welcome to Confessions of a Vistage Chair. I'm your host, Ryan Hogan. We have real, behind-the-scenes conversations with Vistage Chairs who share honest stories and practical insights on leadership growth, peer advisory groups, and what actually happens in Vistage meetings. Let's pull back the curtain. Congratulations on the recent COPE Award. That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm like thrilled, blown away, super honored. It is beyond. Yes.
And
Yes.
so I know a lot of listeners are already going to know because we get a lot of
Mhm.
Vistage Chairs that tune in. For people that are not Vistage Chairs, what is this amazing award?
Yeah. What the heck is this award, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's the highest award given to a Vistage chair, and there's 1,200 chairs. We're here internationally, and it is really an award given for leadership, service, and influence.
Hmm.
I'm the 38th person to receive it. I'm the fourth woman to receive the award. And just to rewind my tape a little bit, 25 years ago, when I first became a chair, I was sitting in at the gala and watching the current recipient receive the award. And I remember whispering to my fellow chair next to me saying, my aspiration is someday I would love to be a chair of chairs. And 25 years later, I received it. It's
You made it
amazing.
happen.
Yeah.
Well, number one, congratulations on that. And like since we're already 25 years back, like how did this all start from you? Because like you were in corporate America for quite a bit of time and
It
then
was.
transition. So what did you do before Vistage and then how did you come about on this journey?
Yeah. It's been a fun journey. Thanks for asking, Ryan. So I worked for Unical, the oil company, for a long time. So I probably have a 76 tattoo somewhere on me. Uh, and I love working there. And my last role, I had a lot of roles there. In fact, basically they would say, "Hey, we want to do this or that. We don't know what to do. Just figure it out." And so I'm good at just figuring it out, right? And so I started a wholly owned subsidiary company for them. And that was like starting a company with really rich parents, right?
Yeah.
And I got the entrepreneurial bug and thought, if I could do it for them, I could do it for me. So I decided to start a PR and marketing business. And I had met a fellow earlier that tried to woo me away from Unical. He wanted me to be his second in command at a manufacturing company. And I said, no, 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 I'm never leaving Unical. Well, I ran into him and I said, oh, guess what? I left. And he says, oh, what are you doing? And I said, I started a PR marketing business. And he goes, you just started? I said, yes. And he goes, well, do you have a lot of clients? And I said, well, I have one, Unical, which is pretty darn nice client to have. He goes, you know, I have a deal for you. He goes, come work for me, be my second in command, do your business. When you get to a point where you need to leave, leave, but I'll take as much as I can get from you as long as I can get. And since I was making like zero money at that time, because I had just started, I said, okay. First thing I did was a sales and marketing plan. And one day he calls me up and he goes, hey, I'm at this business meeting that I attend every month, and they want you to come present next month about sales and marketing plans. And I go, sure, why not? So I went. Well, guess what? That was a Vistage group.
Yep.
And one of the CEOs in the group said, would you do a sales and marketing plan for me? And I go, sure. And I said, but don't pay me because I'm kind of on his dime and I feel a little guilty, but I do need testimonials. And so she said, fine. Well, fast forward, this was 30 years ago or so. She is my best friend and became a very good client, and then long term my best friend. And so then my business started getting momentum. But what I realized is I really miss not having those strategic conversations, to be able to walk down the hall and just talk to people, or just say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, what am I missing? And so I remembered that group that I had visited. And so I joined as a member. So that's a long story, but there you go.
I
That's how
love it.
so then my chair said after a few years, she said, you have really big business experience. You have your boutique business. I think you might make a good chair. And
Yep.
I get bored pretty easy. And I thought hanging out with a bunch of CEOs and walking with them, how cool could that be? So here I am.
That's incredible. So let's talk about the marketing just for a bit. Like, what's most things like when you would walk into organizations and be like, hey, I'm here to look at your marketing plan and help you think strategically about where you're going. Like,
Mhm.
what did you find was like kind of the most common thing that they didn't have in place, and that you would have to come in and be like, all right, guys, this is what we need to tackle first.
Well, we're going back in time, buddy, but what I can, what comes to mind when you said that is the first thing when I'd walk in is they really didn't have a brand. They
Hmm.
they didn't have a story. They didn't really know what their DNA was. And that's where you get people. That's where you connect with people, by telling your story, by making your organization likable, easy to work with, and for people to understand what you're doing.
Yep. Yep. And what, like when you say tell a story, that reminds me of back in the day with consumer product websites.
Mm-hmm.
There were some that would take the time to do an entire about us section, and then there's some that would just like over optimize the web page just to
Right,
get clicks and get people through the checkout cart. And I was like, what is like, why would anybody put an about us section? Like, we just want them to purchase something. But
right.
I feel like that's exactly what you're talking about, which is
Yeah,
this idea of like sharing everything.
right. Yeah. Why do you want to do business with me? Uh, be it a buyer or seller, why do you want to do business with me? And how am I going to make it better for you? What am I going to give you? What are you going to get? You know, what kind of relationship? I'm all about relationship. And to me, it's about building that relationship, that stickiness.
Hmm.
And that's what sets you apart, especially, and I learned that from working at an oil company. Talk about a commodity. And so, I mean, we're talking about cents. That's the difference between one oil company and another. And so it was all about service and who you are and how you show up and how you're going to support them when things are tough.
Hmm. So so that's actually a great example that I hadn't even thought about, which is like oil, commodity. And then you get back to this idea of like, why do you want to do business with me and sharing your story? Like when you think about something that seems I don't know, like something that we all use on a day-to-day basis and we don't think about which gas
Mhm.
station we're pulling up to or things
Right.
like that. Like how did you think through how to position, an oil company strategically from a marketing brand standpoint? Because I feel like that would be one of the biggest challenges out there.
Yeah, so we're really going back into history, but you just, so I did exactly that, is that, and you called it a gas station, and we like to call it a service station. And really, the margin that gasoline companies make on the fuel is small. But
Hmm.
if they put um, window washer fluid in the car, the amount of margin they make is tremendous. And so um, it was, how can we get people to view us as a service station? Because it was like you pull in, you put the pump in, and nobody lifts the hood. But when we had an opportunity to lift the hood, that's when we would make money. So I created a whole program called the Pit Stop, and went to Hawaii and brought it there, and just tried to get people to view it as a service station. Tough, And then we did the car wash. That was another, area that revenue generation.
Hmm. What's interesting about what you're saying is, and I think there's more people than just me that probably thought about marketing like this. Like when a normal person thinks about marketing, I think our minds immediately go to advertising. Marketing, the commercial
Mhm.
I just saw.
Mhm.
Marketing, the billboard I just passed by.
Right, right.
What's interesting about what you just said is like you were like marketing, it's not a gas station, it's a service station. Marketing, we need to be able to provide these alternative services to the gasoline to like support the brand. So
And to make it stickier and to make
hmm,
people come back, um, way back when, 30 years ago, there wasn't a computer program. So we developed a computer program that if you brought your car in for an oil check, we generated a little reminder card. I mean, 30 years ago, they didn't do that.
hmm.
And so it was, how do we build raving fans that would come back to us? And how do we connect with them versus just be a commodity?
How's that? And obviously, it's been some time since you've been in that space. I'm sure like everybody's seen kind of how this has evolved, and the things that I see that are being pushed today. I think back to Baltimore, where I'm from, and there's like Wawa, and there's we call it Rofo, which is Royal Farms,
Uh-huh.
and like they're all about the chicken. They're all about these different things that have nothing to do with gasoline. Like what is it seems like that's evolved from instead of window washer fluid, now they've got the little self-serve station, you can squeegee your own car.
Right, right.
Like is was that because times were changing or more margins on the convenience stores?
I would say yes. The convenience stores, I mean, there's a huge margin on those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and from serving hot dogs to whatever, because they had to find a way to say, how do I get greater share of pocketbook from the client, from
Yeah.
the customers?
Okay, taking us to Vistage now. So you found out about Vistage because you went out on your own. You already had someone that was like, "Hey, whatever spare time you have, I'll take all of your spare
Right,
time. Oh,
right.
by the way, come in." You just kind of stumbled into the Vistage speaker series. It
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
like became a chair. What's that journey been like?
Ryan, Vistage has brought me everything that's good in my life. My best friend, my husband, who's a fellow chair, my best buddies. I have chairs that I'm close to across the United States, across the globe, and then my members who really just fill my heart with joy and fill me with purpose.
Hmm.
It is such an honor to be able to walk with someone on their journey. And as a chair, It is not my role to tell them what to do. It's my chair to walk beside them and help them see what's ahead of them, what's beside them, what's behind them, and help them be the best they can be. So it's not about giving them the answers, it's about helping them see the answers.
I love that. Are there common things that you see? So, I don't know whether this is more so like a new member coming through, or if it's, obviously if people are processing the same exact issues every month, and then there's probably a larger issue there. But like, what are some of the like common things you either see or things that like you're always in tune to your members?
Yeah. One of my members said, all my problems wear shoes. So the first thing I would
That's a
say
good one.
is that it's people problems. And I don't care what kind of business. And so often I'll meet a CEO and they go, well, the group sounds interesting, but my business is different. Do you have people? Do you have processes? Do you have communication challenges? I they all have the same thing, it's just different flavors, right? Um, so people are very much at the top of the list. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you see some common things specifically within that category? Like, is it a is it typically like a trust issue? Is it a wrong person, right seat issue, or is it like it's everything in this people?
It's
But
all of those, we hire too quickly, we fire too slowly. We say, "Oh, well, they're they're there and I know they're not good. But they're filling a space, right? They're filling a void." And so I hear that so often that, in fact, there's five things that I really think great entrepreneurs, CEOs do, is that they face reality fast, they invest in their people, they think long term and act daily. They execute daily, not act, they execute daily. They stay relentless about learning. And then they lead with courage, consistency, not autonomy, accountability, sorry, and trust and care.
hmm, that's good.
Yeah. So just that, lead with courage, consistency, accountability, trust and care. That really that takes in the humble leader, that takes in the strong leader that is clear about where they're going and enlists the rest of the company to go with them.
And when you think about this idea of leading with care, then we go back to like the hiring too fast and
Mhm.
firing too slow. There's always this like balance of like, how do I care for someone and care for their well-being and for the things that they have going on in their lives, while at the same time getting the things done that I need to at my organization. How do you consult, coach CEOs and business leaders to like reconcile that care versus like, hey, action is needed and it's needed now?
Right. And, that's an excellent question. So I'm going to pull from, and this is really part of my DNA now. The values of Vistage are trust, caring, challenge, and growth. And so without trust, forget it, game over, right? So you have to have a foundation of trust and care. We have a word, carefrontational. We confront with care. So if I was coaching you, first I would ask permission, Ryan, can I give you some feedback? And you'd probably say yes, right? And then I would give you some feedback. And, you know, it's not harsh, but it's what you need to hear. And it comes from a place of care. So it's not mean when I say, Ryan, do you really want to do that? What's the impact if you do that? It doesn't sound like a good plan because, you just said the impact could be this and this and this or whatever. Or Ryan, the way your behavior, is that really the behavior you want to be known for or whatever it is? So it's the trust and then the care and then challenge. Vistage members want to grow their businesses. They want to be the best they can be. And I even take that to all of the employees. They want to show up and do the best job that they can. I mean, people don't come to work and go, well, I'm just going to do a lousy job today. No, they want to do the best job that they can do. Sometimes they have to be kicked up in behind to do that, but or motivated or whatever. But um, they're coming to work to do the best job that they can do. So it's challenge. So we have to challenge. And there again, that's around wrapped around trust and care. You can challenge people. And then growth. That's outcomes. We all should be growing, right? Is that it's why do I read a lot? Because I want to be relevant. I want to know what's going on. I want to keep my mind active. And that's what I model for all the people that I work with.
When you're talking to a business leader, like one of the things that I've struggled with in my entrepreneurial life is like I'll know in my gut before I know anything else. Like it may be it's like a sense. Like yes, that may be followed by like there's data points, there's KPIs, there's other things that are going wrong. But in my gut, like I know pretty quickly if things are working or if they're not working with a teammate. What are some things that you think about and that you'll, help coach some of your members with when they're like something's off here, a change needs to be had, but I only feel it, I don't see it yet.
Yeah. So I love what you said because I say, don't, don't just listen to your gut, trust your gut, act on your gut. Is that intuition, something in you is saying something isn't right.
Hmm.
Trust that gut. Go with that gut. Examine what's going on because what do they say? Where there's smoke, there's fire. And I believe, I mean, I have, I would say, never been wrong listening to my gut.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what I said about face reality fast is that it could be a financial situation, it could be employee, it could be lots of things, but what's really going on? And that was something that I learned a long time ago from reading about Shackleton. I don't know if you're familiar with Ernest Shackleton and his journey. It's amazing. He was stuck um, in the Weddell Sea and his whole journey. It's a fascinating story. But basically, he wouldn't say to all the fellow crew members, oh, things are great. This is the reality. Now, what are we going to do about it?
Hmm.
And it's like listening to your gut. Let's explore, let's investigate because something isn't right here.
And just for Shackleton, just a snippet of his story. So he was stranded.
Yes, for like six. So um, they were um, they were in the North Sea, and they had a goal, and the weather was bad. He should have listened. He should have listened, and he went anyways. Their boat, which was a wood boat, was stuck in the sea, and they thought, well, when spring comes and the ice melts, they'll be okay. Well, the boat started to crack and then go down. So everybody got off the boat and they were on a ice float or whatever. And then it was about how to the new goal was how to save his people. And everyone, there was 28 people on board, and all of them were saved. And it was over 600 days. And the whole journey about, okay, so now we have to move. Okay, that didn't work. Now what's next? And so there's great leadership lessons from the whole Shackleton. And it's about perseverance. It's about facing that reality. It's about having fun. It's about, okay, how can we, this is tough. We can either cry in our soup or we can have some fun and look at what's possible. And so I'm always about, it's not a problem, it's an opportunity.
Hmm.
I did a bad job of sharing about Shackleton, but it's an amazing journey.
It sounds like, yeah, I'm gonna pick up the book. It's a book.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pick up the
In
book.
fact, I'll send you like the 10 leadership lessons and a little blurb on it. Yeah. Or you
Love
can
it.
use Chat GPT and download the book summary, The
Yeah.
Essence of Shackleton. Yeah.
You said something super interesting in there, and it was they changed their goal from whatever the original mission was to now Shackleton's goal was save as many as my people as possible and
Save all my people. Save
save
all
all
my
my people.
yeah.
And this happened not generally in the military, yes, but generally in business, it's not to that extent. But
Right.
there is this constant shift in priorities. At my last company, and I'm not saying that this is not a forever state, but we used to run this exercise when times were really interesting, like during
Mhm.
COVID when ports were shutting down, everything else we couldn't get our
Right.
inventory in. If we had cash flow problems or we weren't getting paid by a major retailer, and so we would run this exercise called "What Will Kill Us Next," and I borrowed it from The Martian, which at the end of the movie he's talking about. I solve one problem, I solve the next, I solve the next, and if I
Right.
solve enough problems, I get to come home. The other
Right.
part there is prioritizing, which is incredibly important. And then even in my current company, like one of the things that I've noticed is like we've started to shift goals. We run on EOS, and so we have 90-day rocks.
Mhm.
And a couple times over the last few years, we've had to shift our goals based upon new data points that came in, even between the quarter. What what are some things that like, and I don't know whether it's a threshold or if it's a data point or what it is, but at what point should a leader say, I had these goals or I had these priorities and now I need to start shifting?
I don't have a specific like formula. There again, it's being like you have EOS and you have the rocks. And if you're looking at a rock and you're going, bro, our run rate, we're never going to get there. We're never going to get there. So do we need to change what we're doing? Is it not realistic? It's about interrogating reality.
Hmm.
What's the reality of what's going on? And then you go, is it that wasn't a realistic goal? Or do we not have the right people? Or do we not have the right plan? What is getting in the way of us achieving that goal? And so I don't think that there's a formula per se. It's about exploration,
Hmm.
interrogating that reality of what's going on.
I was about to repeat that again because that's like I love that soundbite, interrogating, and that goes right back to your number one thing with what a great leader is, and you said it's face reality.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I like to. Have you ever heard of the beach ball exercise or the beach ball?
do
Okay,
tell, and
so
then
you know what a beach ball looks like, right? A big
yeah,
beach ball with different colors on it. And if I said, Ryan, what color is the beach ball? And I held it up really close to your eye with a red stripe, you would say
Brad.
red. And if Susie was next to you and I took that same beach ball and held it up to her with the yellow stripe and said, Susie, what color is the beach ball? She would say yellow. And so are both of you correct? Absolutely. From your vantage point, you see red, she sees yellow. And guess what? There's lots of other colors. So I like to remind people about the beach ball is what am I seeing that you're not seeing? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing? And what are we both not seeing? So it's about interrogating that reality. And how often do we get so locked into that? This is what I see. We're myopic. We only see that. So
I
that's beach ball.
I've never heard like some of the things that I've gotten in the past through Vistage is like
Mhm.
when there's a problem, you don't want everybody sitting across the table. You want to create this
Right.
environment where everybody's sitting on the same side and we're looking.
Exactly.
I've never heard the beach ball, and the beach ball is now going on my issues list to talk to the team about this week because that's brilliant.
Yeah. In fact, like when I do strategic planning, I get these little baby beach balls. Amazon you can get them, and they put them on their desk just as a reminder. Is it just your perspective? Is it someone else's? What are we all missing? You know,
Hmm.
because it's so easy to just get so locked into the way we see things.
All right, quick break, friends. Do you find it impossible to hire and retain top sales talent? Or worse, are you paying insane recruiter fees who are all using outdated hiring processes? Yeah, I was too. At Hunt to Killer, we were spending hundreds of thousands on recruiter agency fees. And after I sold that company in 2025, I started Talent Harbor. And the whole vision here was to make sales recruiting accessible to small and medium sized businesses because the organizations that can hire and retain world class people are the ones that ultimately win. Most organizations rely on things like ZipRecruiter or LinkedIn, and they get hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes. But we find that the best salespeople are already perfectly placed somewhere else. And that's why our approach is to go after them. And we do that through a business model called recruiting as a service. We do not charge commissions. We do not have success fees. We don't have contracts. We don't have long-term engagements. And we become an extension of your team as expert sales recruiters. If you're tired of the same old recruiters and want to actually grow your sales team, check us out at talentharbor.com. That's Talent Harbor, TALENTHARBOR.com. Let's get your next sales superstar hired. Your number one was face reality. Number two was investing in your people.
Right.
And when when I hear investing in your people, to me that's send them to a school or like invest in their professional development. What to you, like what does invest in your people look like?
Vistage has a number of leadership programs, Emerging Leader, Advancing Leader, Key Executive programs. We have a number of programs that will give employees, no matter where they are, something in their toolbox. So many times there's a shining star, but they're young and they don't really have any leadership tools in that toolbox. They could probably hardly spell leadership. And so investing in them is curriculum programs. It's how to have a voice, how to communicate with people, uh, how to be flexible, all of the leadership nuances. And that's what I mean about investing in people is there's so many programs in addition to Vistage, but I've obviously love the Vistage programs, is that giving them tools that they haven't learned at school, no matter what school they went to, they haven't learned that. And maybe they didn't learn it at home. And it's, how to stand up in front of a room in the beginning of their career, right? And how to negotiate, how to become a leader. And
Yep.
that's what I mean about investing in people. So often I see that someone says, "Oh, I just promoted my great salesperson to the sales manager, well, they're totally different things. Do they have the skill sets to manage people? Selling is one thing, managing is totally different. And so, are we setting them up to succeed or are we setting them up to fail?
Vistage changed my life. Like it absolutely changed my
Right with you,
life.
buddy.
Yeah. And and we did the same thing at my last company, which was like Ed Robinson. We
Uh-huh.
were a Baltimore headquartered company, and so we got to a place of where I was like, everybody needs to be in. So we had like key executive, we had emerging leaders. Like if you held a leadership position at Hunt Killer, like you were in some sort of professional development. Why do you think that is? Meaning, why do you think peer groups are so valuable and so transformational for business professionals?
Great question. And I'm going to come at it a couple ways. First of all, hearing your peers having processing an issue or an opportunity, it's like, I think I may have that, or wow, I'm going to file that away because I could have that. So that's really helpful. The other thing is in a peer group environment, you can tell me that that's a wacko idea
Hmm.
and I can hear you. Versus if I presented it to my boss and he said that was a wacko idea, I would just be pissed off at him and thinking, oh, doesn't respect me, doesn't think that I'm smart, or who knows what, right? And so having that peer group is so valuable. And it's a safe place to say, I don't know what I don't know, where sometimes it's not always that safe to say that to your boss. Gee, I don't really know how to do that.
It's like learning through osmosis,
Right.
having a group of people that can help you process issues, especially the issues that might be too embarrassing. Like that takes me back. Probably shouldn't even talk about this one, but I had this idea um, to offer a lifetime guarantee for recruiting. And
Uh-huh.
instead of processing it with peers, I just went to my partner and I was like, you know what we need to do? And she did that exact. She was like, like lifetime? Like
Yeah.
that makes no
What are you
sense.
smoking, buddy?
Yeah, that's basically that's basically what happened, and it would have saved me. It would have saved some face for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Or to say, you know, I have done all this work and I want to talk to my boss about a raise.
hmm.
Can I role play that with you guys? Help me. I mean, so many times that's been effective.
Do you think if we're living under the CEO level, what do you think is most important for those peer groups for emerging leaders and key executives from a standpoint of like, is this the vertical or the industry? Is this more like the size of the company? Do you see like
Mhm.
where do you see like some of the similarities that like really has a maximum return?
So I I look at before I invite someone into my group, I want to know, do they want to learn and grow?
Hmm.
If they have that, oh, then there's an invitation to come into my group. There are a few other things, but learn and grow. And so, for example, in my key executive group, I have someone that is almost 1 billion in revenue. I mean, the organization. And then I have companies that are 4 million in revenue. And they really learn from each other because sometimes the more mature companies, they forgot what they did in the beginning. And the not startups, but the smaller organizations, they can learn what the big guys are doing. And so I love mixing it all up because I think that there's tremendous value and there's not one think, but multiple thoughts and ways to go about something. And I just find that having different industries, well, in any group, it's non-competing industries. So they're all different industries. but it's so valuable because sometimes what a construction company is doing for their marketing, um, a law firm might say, "Oh, I hadn't even thought about that," right?
Yep.
Because if they just go to industry meetings where there's only lawyers, they're only going to hear this one sliver of this is a way to do things. And so I love opening that up. Yeah.
Yeah. I I love that. We had, and I agree with you. Like one of the reasons that I was able to, I felt like Vistage was like exponential business growth. So I had a company, unfortunately, it went bankrupt, and it was like my first real experience with product market fit.
Hmm.
Um, and then I was still active duty in the Navy at the time. Today I'm in the reserves, and
Hmm.
then had another company take off. And what I promised myself with the last company is I was like, if I'm ever lucky enough to find product market fit, like I'm
Hmm.
going to find people that have been there, done that.
Hmm.
And Ed put me in a group. I think we were probably 2 or 3 million at the time, very early days. He put
Hmm.
me in a group with like 50 to $100 million
Hmm.
companies. And the things that it was like exponential for
Right.
me from a growth
Yeah,
standpoint.
exactly. And I'm
Um,
sure that those folks learned from you too, because you had to be nimble and you were nimble, right?
yeah,
Versus they're maybe moving a big ship, and so you can learn from each other, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
When you talked about this idea of thinking in the long term, and then being able to execute in today, like
Mhm.
how does a leader shift like that? Meaning, like, how are they thinking about the long term but able to execute in the day?
First of all, I like to ask the CEO, are you doing things that are the highest and best use of your time? Because you have to carve out time to be able to think strategically, to not have so many tactical and other things bombarding you that your mind can't even think long term.
Hmm.
So you have to carve that out. And if you don't make time for it, it's not going to happen. Executing daily, there again, if you're the CEO, who's who's your who's doing that? And there's a great book, Who Not How, and who should be taking on some of these things, not how should I do it as the CEO. And so executing daily is make sure that the engine's running. Everybody's working together, moving together. They're aligned on the vision. And then you let it go because they're doing their job.
Mhm.
So then it frees you up to think long term. Does that answer your question?
It does. And by the way, I love the book reference. Like probably a top five book for me. It just opened up my mind. And sorry if this is a spoiler for anybody, but the craziest part in that book was like halfway through, he was like, "By the way, I'm using this exact principle right now because I'm not actually writing this." And I was like it was crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
What when you think about the success that you've had as a Vistage chair, so there's going to be a whole bunch of Vistage chairs listening to this. What do you think has been kind of key to your success over the last couple decades?
Mm. Being a good listener, being really there with everyone that I work with. When I'm with you, I'm fully with you. It's really living the trust, caring, challenge, and growth. If you have that, you'll have, if you have that in your groups as a Vistage chair, you'll have a great group. If you show up personally as a Vistage chair with trust, caring, challenge, and growth, I believe you'll be a good chair. And, in the beginning, Ryan, I like people to like me and I would sugarcoat. So when I would give you feedback, you'd probably go, there was a lot of sugar there. And I think there was something she was trying to tell me. And I learned that no, that's not my role. So with that carefrontation, with the fact that when I say, Ryan, that's a stupid idea, I may not say it like that, is that that it comes from a good place. And then for me, it's all about connecting people and people to ideas and resources and being there, walking beside them. And there again, it's not about the answers, it's about the questions.
When you were just getting the group started, very, very, very early days, like what were some of the keys to even getting the group off the ground and then being able to expand that over this period of time?
Creating stickiness as quickly as possible
Hmm.
is really connecting the members because it's in the beginning as a new chair, we think it's all about us. It's not, it's all about the members. And so it was, how do I really build the relationships around the table? And so, personally, for me, I know a lot of chairs stand up and all day. I sit down. I will stand up when I'm introducing the speaker or when I really want to make a point. There is not one moment in the day that they don't know who the chair of the group is, who the CEO of the group is. And I sit because I don't want the attention on me. I want it to be on the group. That's just my way of creating that environment where it's the group, not me.
So you haven't heard it yet because we haven't released the episodes, but I will tell you that Mark Taylor, Ed Robinson, the conversations that I've had so far, when you get into the success, it's very consistent.
Mm,
And that's what I love about this is like everybody saying it's about the members, it's about the group, it's about pouring into them. It's not
right.
about like all of the other things that are going on. So I love that.
It
When
is. It's all about the members, you know. And the more that they love on each other, the longer they'll stay and the more they'll get out of it because they're willing to open their kimonos and share their truths because it's a safe place.
yeah, when so one of the things that you had already mentioned and it usually asks like what do you look for in members and I remember you said earlier in this conversation like somebody that's looking to grow, someone that's looking to learn. Are there any other things when you're thinking through like
Sure.
I'm looking for members, like what do you look for in members?
Well, the first thing I look for is because, especially if it's the CEO, is I'm going to spend an hour and a half one on one with you. Is so, do I want to hang out with you? You
Mhm.
know, do I like you as a person? Because if I don't, then I'll say, there's a great, let me introduce you to another chair. Because I put so much into all my relationships that if I don't really feel like I connect with someone, then that's the wrong person for me. Going back to that gut feel. If I just don't feel that there's connection there, then probably another chair would be better. So I look for that's the first thing I look for. And the other thing too is that if I'm feeling that way, do I want to bring that person into my group? Because it's that crucible of safe and trust and we can share anything and help each other. So I look for that. Learning and growing. Are they coachable? Are
Mm,
they open to feedback? Feedback from me, and most importantly, feedback from the group. Because there's nothing worse than Ryan, you know, we've spent hours on this issue and you're not doing anything. In fact, we have the NFL rule that if you've processed it several times and you just have done nothing, we don't want to talk about that issue anymore.
I love it. Last question. So someone just listened to this about your groups and what you look for and um, all the amazing stuff that you just talked about. And they're like, oh, I'm a business leader and I live in Orange County. What is the best way for them to get a hold of you to see if they would be great for your group?
Sure. The best way would be they can connect with through my email. Should I give you my email?
Sure. And we'll also drop it in the show notes so that
Okay,
people have it
sure.
as well.
It's Beth at chartingsuccess.com. My telephone number is 949-842-9997. They can reach me that way. Text, email, LinkedIn, whatever works. Yeah.
Awesome. Beth,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking the time to come on
Thank
and
you.
share all of this wisdom. We covered it all. We covered the success of the chair, the things that you've seen in with your members. Thank you. The beach ball, my favorite, which I'm going to process this week as an issue and share with my team. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time and having me as your guest.